Hey, everybody, I'm Tim Lockie, your designated liver, and I'm here with another Tim Paris from Dataro, and we are talking about Fundrasing.AI Summit happening next Monday and Tuesday. And we're really excited about this event because it is free to participants thanks to all of the generous sponsorships and partnerships that have made that possible, among which are Tim and Ditara. So, Tim, so great to see you again. I feel like this is becoming an annual ritual, so I really like that. Thanks for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. Zosbos, is that you? Is that your?
Oh my gosh, no, that is okay. So, I do a lot of work with Sammy Zoss. And sometimes my name comes in as Sammy Zoss. So when I reset, it came in
No,
as
this
Sammy.
is good because there
I
can only
like
be
it.
one Tim. So you can.
Right. Oh, I see what you did there. Nicely done. Nicely done. This is not working out for me, but I think for you and Sammy is going spectacularly. So, like, there we are. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. First question. You moved to the States a couple years ago, and how's that transition going? How's Daytaro? What's new in your life?
well, I mean, frankly, amazing. America is a very different place to Australia. Australia is a great place. I will always return to Australia, but America is an experience, right? So I really enjoyed being here and soaking up this strange, beautiful, chaotic place that is America. And it's been great for Dataro as well. There are far more nonprofits and organizations and technology adopters over here than back home. And we've really enjoyed working with so many organizations
Yeah.
and bigger organizations with bigger challenges to solve. And I think that's a great place for AI to fit in.
You've been doing this AI, and I'll just say this is thank you for your generous opinion of the chaos these days. I feel like other answers would have been acceptable. I'm really grateful for
Oh, I can
your take
give
on
them.
that one.
They're the non-LinkedIn versions later on.
I believe it, and I also feel like you're visionary in that you've been working in AI before AI was a thing, and so that must feel really rewarding to you know to be out there just talking about this thing people aren't paying attention to, and now the whole world's looking at. I think there's got to be some satisfaction in that.
The thing that strikes me about it, so I guess for me, it goes back to when I was doing my PhD before we called it AI and we were doing statistics and that was
Back when it was called econometrics and all the rest of
yeah,
it. Yeah,
we have lots of data. What do we do with it? Here are some
right.
great algorithms. And the interesting
Oh
thing
my
for
gosh,
me,
it took so long to calculate anything. Like one test. Oh my, yeah, anyway, sorry. Yeah, keep going. I will stop interrupting.
wait, we're gonna age ourselves if we start talking about how long computation took. Now everything's so fast. You
I
have to
know.
you have to
So
like
true.
crank up an actual machine next to your desk, and like you see the fans
You
going.
had to put the little visor on, and then you're like doing the arm thing. Yeah. Anyway.
The interesting thing about like that evolution is obviously lots of things change, but I feel like while AI is cool now, back then for us nerds and working in academia, it was always cool and you could always see the potential. And this is at least this is probably 15 years ago now for me. And there was always that potential there. And, there were some big breakthroughs that happened over that time. But more than anything, the breakthroughs have happened in the public conscious, in the application of the technology. And that's what I find particularly exciting. A lot of the algorithmic and data work was done many years ago. And
Yeah.
it's really now that we're getting the benefits of it, in society when everyone is using this technology. It's, free, it's on your phone, it's easy to use. And I think that's the kind of biggest change that's really happened.
It's interesting to think about it as a public good. And I think that is important to understand that this is a societal benchmark. And I think that I feel like, you know, brands are going to do what brands are going to do and try and make it all about them. But if you sweep off, all the logos and you just look at what has been accomplished as a society, it is like the Gutenberg press, right? After this, it's a different thing now, or the internet. After this, it's a different thing now. And I think that that's the way to think about LLMs is that there's a public good with public harm and externalities, of course, but I feel like that's present in a way that I never expected to see. When I was studying econometrics, which was way longer than 15 years ago, by the way. So I feel like that is it's interesting to see that break out.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. Maybe I think the most interesting thing now, I think the internet is a great analogy to use as well. Like the early days of the internet when things are fresh and exciting and still kind of pure, like
I'm hearing the dial-up sound right now. Like right now, I'm just hearing it. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
and I think the most of the rhetoric, it's kind of extreme and it's very much driven by what people intrinsically believe. Are you glass
Yeah.
half full or
Right.
glass half empty? And if you're
Yeah.
optimistic, and I tend to be optimistic, you think this is technology that has so many civil benefits and
Right.
social good. This is the thing that will cure cancer, right?
Yeah.
And then if you're, glass half empty, this is World War III. And this is because so much remains to be seen. Like it's
Mhm.
really up to us to guide it at this societal level because it's new, right? It's new
Yeah.
technology, and I think it's hopefully people like us and institutes like Fundrasing.AI, among everything that's going on right now, that can really guide it in the right direction because we don't know what will happen next.
My son said in 2023, and I just look at this and I feel like it's so insightful. He said, in the future, people will think of the internet as early AI. Isn't that a wild take? I
Yeah,
think that is, I just think that is exactly right. Right. So I mean, who knows what the future will be like and all of that, but it is an interesting moment. You and I were talking about agents, and I think that this is going to be part of what you talk about at Fundraising Summit. And just by the way, here comes the plug for that, which is a free event happening next Monday and Tuesday. And if people haven't registered already, there's the QR code that they can go and do that right now. So that if you're a fundraiser, you work for a nonprofit, you care about these things, you're a board member, uh, click that QR code and register. And over 60 speakers, amazing conversations. Speakers like Tim from Datara will be there as well. And if you're not following Tim, there's the QR code in the upper left hand corner. That was a long parenthetical there. But we were talking about agents before this. That's part of what you're going to be talking about. I'd love to hear what you've seen in terms of the progression of people really starting to come alive to the possibilities of what you can do with an AI agent.
yeah, absolutely. This is what I see as maybe one of the more interesting transformations. And I apologize to everyone because these things come on thick and fast. So it was probably only a year ago we were talking about, last fundraising AI and what everyone needs to grapple with. And that was how to prompt better and how to use AI better. And here are the applications. And, you fast forward a year or so and, there's another change happening that, is what like everyone should be aware of. And I think that is the transition from prompts and, really text-based question answer style generative AI into agentic AI. And that's very much what I'm going to be talking about, how to unwind and unwrap what's going on with agents. And I think the best way to think about agents is right now having one ChatGPT is great, but what if you had ChatGPTs that could talk to other ChatGPTs and do tasks for you in the real world? They weren't just isolated to a browser window. They can actually connect with some data. They can actually search the web for you. They can do additional research and they can come back with not just information, but actions or recommendations. And they can do that very quickly now. They can do that very accurately now, and they can chain those things together, thinking of them more like a swarm of bees, lots of really specialized individual LLMs that can do things for you. I think it's an incredibly powerful thing. And right now we're on the cusp of that technology becoming really, really big. Like the next wave of AI adoption will be in agents.
Yeah, I'm proud to be called Zoss Boss right now because Sammy Zoss has built out an board of directors for herself, not just for a nonprofit, but for herself. That's an advisory team of agents that she runs ideas by and has roundtable conversations with. And I feel like that's one of the best use cases of understanding. They're not out in the world making decisions about anything. They're not connected to workflows that are, creating content engines or anything like that. This is an advisory team that helps her think about what's going on. Um, and
Great.
from there, you can go to a lot of other places, but just to have a team of advisors like that can give you early counsel on scratchpad ideas, I think is really valuable.
I think that's really cool. And I think that typifies how we're thinking about agents now. It goes from just being this AI tool to being like this teammate, someone you're
Yeah.
collaborating with, someone
Right.
that's working with you, I guess, as part of that group. Maybe it's a board advisory. I think that's a great use case for it.
I was doing some training with Project Evident, and they had me come in to talk about automations and agents, and if I were to make a prediction on what we're going to be talking about next year, it is going to be MCPs.
Yeah.
I think that's what's next. That is wild territory. I'm having a ton of fun with it. But when we were talking about this, it struck me that there's a transition that all parents go through where they make lunches for their kids. And the dream of every parent is that their kids make their own lunches, right? And the way that you go through that process isn't that you just one day say it's up to you to make your own lunch now. And you would know like that is not going to go well. You're going to end up frustrated with them. They're going to feel really frustrated with you. That's grounds for counseling together in the future, right? And so I feel like you've got to do what all parents do. They write some instructions, they put the ingredients in the fridge, and they say, okay, go read the instructions. It's going to say one main thing, one vegetable, a snack, a treat, whatever. And then you're going to find all the ingredients in the fridge, put them in a bag, have it done by 7:45, whatever. That is very, very much the process that people need to think through on developing agents, where instructions are the sign on the fridge, and in the data that you give it are all the ingredients in the fridge. And that creates kind of a package, right? That creates a custom GPT or a gem in Gemini, or a project in Claude. And I feel like just understanding the anatomy of that and thinking through this is something that you co-develop together really moves it from it's not working territory to how do I transfer what I want it to do into it so that it's doing it. Does that make sense?
So I have kids, and they're nowhere near being able to make their own lunches. So I think you can only stretch that analogy so far. But the thing with MCP and like model context protocol, it's I think incredibly important for this idea of communication amongst humans and agents and different tools.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about a kid making a lunch, or even a junior or a grad, or someone who's come into the workforce, and you have to train them up, right? And I think things like the MCP protocol.
Hopefully they know how to make lunches by then, but who knows, right?
Well, do they know how to make your favorite lunch, right?
Ooh, nice swing.
Use the tools that you have,
Right.
use the
Yeah.
ingredients you have.
Yep.
And
right.
I think that's really a powerful thing about agents and MCP. But I think the analogy only goes so far there. I think the more interesting thing about stretching that analogy would be saying, and this is a scary thought, you've got to imagine it's not just you're training this 1 or 2 or 3 children, it's the 100 or 200 or 300
Yes.
children, which is a horrifying prospect in and of itself. But that, I think, is the real potential here. Once you nail that communication between the different bits of technology and the different agents, there's no reason why you can't have 300 lunches. And now I've pushed the analogy far too far. No one needs that many lunches, I think. But that's, I think, the potential of that type of technology.
No, I think that's actually interesting. And, I'm going to pull the scale back from the number of lunches and instead focus on the number of tasks. Because say that you have sandwich maker, right? Like that's the way to start thinking about this. You've got one thing that knows how to make sandwiches. So anytime you use a sandwich, you just, you say, come make a sandwich, and, and the treat finder, or the, all of that. I feel like that's really what people are missing, is that it doesn't have to be start to finish. I'll be talking with Dan Kershaw about some of the work that he's done. And he's got one workflow process where he's got an agent that just figures out the best subject line. That's all it does. It's a whole agent just to think. It looks at the content and it says, here's 8 suggestions. I think this one's best.
Yeah.
Like, that is such an important way of thinking about it.
That's a great way to think about it. Everyone is very much just assigned to a role. And what's really cool when you actually think about every agent or every GPT or model has a specific role, is that role might actually be quite simple, but when you put it in the context of many different roles, it becomes really complex. As we see in swarms or society, not everyone is doing something genius level. But the really cool thing about that is sometimes we just throw a really powerful tool like GPT-5 at a subject line, and it doesn't need to be this massive energy intensive model. I think the research on small language models actually are really powerful here. It's lightweight, it's cheap, it's fast. It doesn't have the energy implications, and it can be specialized to those simple roles, but then they can combine into something really powerful. And that's a really cool area of research as well.
Yeah, I really like what you're saying about that. And I also want to say, human in the loop.
Speaking of kids making lunches, here's one.
Hi.
You say hello? Oh. Still camera shy. Hey buddy, you're interrupting something right now. Can I give you this and you can go make some lunches? Here we go. All right, there you go. Off you go. There we go.
Amazing. That's great. That's great. I was thinking about when we were making lunches, I had a sibling, and I won't say Kirsten's name, that would, if I tried to go for more treats than was allocated, I might get told on, right? And I feel like that's a human in the loop, right? That is a way to say, okay, we need some quality checks on this. We need some controls on that. And I feel like that's really important. And then another sibling of mine figured out the game, right? Because he figured out that he could take gum to school and sell it for like $0.25 a piece, right? And then be able to buy hot lunch, which for us was like the goal. And that was breaking the rules. So then you get into ethical use of agentic AI. And so I feel like, there's so many ways and elements to think about agentic use and the way that we are going to break down tasks, get them done, and then quality control check on both ethical use and keeping humans in the loop while we're doing these. And I think maybe the most important thing to say here is that it's not all or nothing. It's not automated, it's automating, right? Like, just save some steps. If you can save one step, you saved a step.
This is a really important thing. I think when you listen to probably what we're talking about now, and you're like, all the lunches get automated, you think, well, that's the end of that role, the sandwich maker, in this analogy. But in reality, what's happening is it's more and more pieces of it being made simpler and easier. And there will always be, I think, human in the loop is a really important one. There's still, the vast majority of things right now are human in the loop, and that's incredibly important. But I think what's look at this.
I'm loving this. This is like, it's like you set it up.
Hey, buddy, so this is becoming a little problem.
I found you.
I know. This is where no matter.
We've got a human in the loop. It's perfect.
I've got my human in the loop. He's like, stop talking about AI. I'm right here, and I'm more important. And
All right, and we're gonna go with that. Tim, thank you so much for the extra time. Thanks so much for being a sponsor and a long-term supporter of Fundrasing.AI. One more time, if you're not following Tim Paris, there is the QR code to go follow Tim on LinkedIn. If you have not signed up for the Fundrasing.AI Summit, please go sign up. And it is free to you because of these sponsors. I'm going to show them in just a second. Tim, thanks so much for joining this morning. Always a pleasure. Great to see you. Can't wait to see you next week.
Pleasure, Jim. Catch you soon.